Analogies. Now, analogies are, to me, that's like the most quintessential part of the verbal GRE, just because they just like are the verbals. So you're going to see two words at the top, like container and jug, and sometimes I'll call this stimulus, and then you've got answer choices. Cool. So first off, there's always going to be a relationship in the analogy, right? This isn't some sort of like ink blot test of like, oh, what do these things have in common? It's never going to give you some sort of open-ended question. And furthermore, there's always a clear, concrete relationship. In the analogy, don't ever go down and be like, oh yeah, I totally know what those two words have in common. You'll get it wrong. You'll get it wrong. What you're going to do, the best thing to do, the easiest thing to do, sometimes they call it a bridge, some people call it a connector sentence. It doesn't really matter, but essentially you want to build a sentence that connects the two with a very clear and concrete relationship, and you can think of it as a sort of scaffolding, right? That you're just going to insert all the word choices in. It's very important when you do this, don't change it. Like I said, the answer choices can affect you in subtle ways that you're not aware of. Don't change it. You may have to go back and revise it at some point, if you know, and we're going to go over that here in just a second, but then just make sure that you then apply that new version to every answer choice. And always check all your answer choices, because oftentimes there might be two answers or something, and you're going to have to refine it down. Yep, so don't do like vague feelings, concepts, intuitions. Use concrete sentences and apply it to every single thing in a very systematic way. So notice I just keep emphasizing this like very systematic sort of analytical stuff. That's how you want to do all these problems. And again, remember, it has to have the exact same relationship, right? So here's an example, kitten, cat, right? What's the relationship? A kitten is a baby cat. That's your scaffolding. You pop the stimulus words out, and then you insert all the answer words and go through it. A dog is a baby moose, no. A fish is a baby whale, no. Oop, mouse, not moose. A kid is a baby goat, yes. A sheep is a baby ewe, nope. And a goose is a baby gosling. The direction is important. So if you have let's say you have, X to Y, you could say like X is a type of Y, right? Or you could say Y is a type of X or whatever. If you go this way here, you have to go that way in all the answer choices. If it's the same relationship but it's backwards, it's wrong. Really important, they will put answers in there like that. It's right, but it's in the wrong direction. So keep that in mind, it's really important. A goose is a baby gosling. Notice there you go, there's that direction one. Clearly only one of those works. If that happens, you're set. You're very excited. Okay, now, so when building these sentences, first off, it's going to explicitly capture a concrete relationship between the words, and eventually only one answer choice. Don't build, so sometimes words will have something in common with a third outside element. That's not going to work. It has to be a very clear relationship between only the two stimulus words. Right? Sometimes it's type. I mean, you'll see a bunch of them. Well, they're actually in here. But for example, mansion and house, right? Mansion and house, one thing you could say is, a mansion is a very large house. That would be a good connector sentence. An example of a bad connector sentence of the type that I'm talking about that refers to some third entity is mansions and houses are both buildings. Right? Think about car and truck. They seem like they would make a real good analogy stimulus, right? Car and truck, right? Try and come up with a connector sentence, and it's impossible. There is no clear relationship between car and truck, other than they're both vehicles. But now notice you're referring to some outside thing. That will not ever be an answer in an analogy question, that kind of thing. And that's subtle. I think it's hard because they feel very connected, right? Car and truck. But it's not like a truck's a big car. That's not really true. So generally the idea here is there's some continuum of a relationship. Similar, but it could be specific or general, right? Okay, so good example. So redwood and tree, right? Probably the most basic thing that I could come up with is a redwood is a large tree, right? That's sort of general. The most general relationship I think would be a redwood is a type of tree, right? But then you could say like a redwood is a large type of tree. Or you could say a redwood is a large type of coniferous tree that's native to, you know, certain parts of North America. Clearly that last one, nothing else is going to share that relationship. And that first one, multiple things might share that relationship, right? If you just say it's a type of, right? So that's fine, but it might not get you anywhere. So you just want to sort of think about this relationship as like general, specific, and you want to start your connector sentence sort of right in the middle. What I mean by that is there's a term in psychology called the natural level of things, and this is basically what a kid would say if you asked him what something was, right? So a dog goes running by and you ask a kid, what is that? And he's going to say it's a dog. So I can say, oh, it's a golden retriever. Unless it's like some dog kid that's related to dogs, right? Or if you know, a car goes by, it's not like, oh, that's an Audi, right? It's like, no, it's a car. We all know what it is, it's hard to define, but this is a chair, right? It's not, you know, that's a chair, it's not a desk chair with, you know, some sort of swivel bottom thing. That's where you want to start, is that sort of basic level, and then refine accordingly. Now, you're going to go down and you're going to test this on every single question, bing, 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 or every single answer, right? You go down. If you get too many answer choices, let's say you have 2 answer choices, what that means is you're too general and you got to move this way. And specifically what you want to do is, with some information, I mean, now you've seen the answer choices, try and think how you could split the 2, right? So let's say you get down from redwood and tree, and you've got skyscraper and building, and you've got crocodile and reptile, right? Well, clearly a skyscraper is a type of building, a crocodile is a type of reptile. How do you think you might split the 2?
I'd say like living versus, you know, man-made.
Oh, yeah, this actually might be a bad example.
Okay.
There could be 2 ways to split this. Sorry, I did it off the top of my head. And that's so yeah, you could say is a species of, which I just realized that would be, yes. So it's a bad example. I was going for tall. The idea is you want to try and come up with sort of what splits them. What does the stimulus have in the relationship that could split the 2? So you want to come up with some sort of way that they diverge. Sorry, that was a bad example. So make sure you maintain the sentence. Don't change it. It's easy and we'll do it without noticing it. You'll start changing your connector sentence. Don't change it. Sometimes you have to go back, like I just said, and revise it and make it different, which is fine, but then you have to start over and go through and do all the answer choices again. And even just make sure that another one didn't pop in or, you know, whatever. Just always do that. Yep, so if you end up with one and only one choice, you're set. If you end up with more than one, your sentence was probably too general. If you end up with no answers, so nothing shares a relationship, there's 2 possibilities. One possibility is either A, you were too specific and you just have to make it more general, but probably more likely is that that's not the relationship. Either you have the wrong definition, well, probably you have the wrong definition, which happens quite a bit. You'll see. In fact, I think we hit some today where you'll totally have the wrong definition, it'll be clear. You'll be like, oh wow, that doesn't make any sense. So you've got to try and go back and do that. Okay, so this is technique number 1. So remember I told you it's sort of like a checklist you go through. So technique 1 is connector sentences, and here it's just like real explicitly laid out. 1, define both words as clearly as possible, consider the relationship. 2, construct the connector sentence. 3, pop the words out and use that connector sentence as a scaffold to test all your answer choices. Make sure you use the same connector sentence. Step 4, if you end up with just one answer, double check it, you're done. If you get more than one, your sentence is too general. Go back to step 2, make it more specific, and split the 2 answers. If you end up with no answers, either you have to make your sentence more general, it's too specific, or you're using the wrong definitions. Now the reason I like this technique a lot better than like, oh, here's the most common relationships, is because notice it's very flexible. You can use this to solve any analogy problem, and you're not stuck in some sort of like, oh, this is a type relationship. It doesn't channel you into anything, it just allows you to sort of let the words tell you what's going on.